So Gemini 2.5 Flash came out, but already like days ago, so pretty much in the Stone Age, yet I was using it quite a bit. And while the rest of the world seemingly bedazzled by knowledge, I tend to be more focused on the bigger picture, but also care a lot about speed, especially when it comes to the user experience, my user experience. And the new Flash is trading punches with O4 Mini, a Claude Sonnet 3.7, Grok V, and DeepSeek R1, while being significantly cheaper and faster too. But that is not all. So, for example, we can see that it's taking 8th place on the live bench. But let me ask you this. If you're choosing a coder, which one you're choosing? I think this is not a self-evident question, because partly you might have to consider their strengths and weaknesses, but partly OpenAI is just expensive. So arguably, if you want a top choice, then you would go with Gemini 2.5 Pro, and you would use it outside the AI studio, presumably. Yet, I'm gonna make the argument that is not necessarily the best choice. Although that is definitely the best choice if you are getting stuck and you need the top shelf intelligence. Of course, you should just use the chats very liberally because they can be used as much as you like. But let's suppose that you do not need the most intelligent model, especially not for some prices we see here. And in that case, it would be extremely hard to argue that currently Gemini 2.5 Flash is not the best alternative, if not even the main. So we can see that Gemini 2.5 Pro is 1.25 in and 10 out. And you're not getting much free use per day. 25 per day. Realistically, if you want to use it for free, then you need to use the chat. Or you might have to go to Open Router. Possibly there are other options as well. This used to be really good, but then they really ruined the party. And now you can only use the Gemini 2.5 Pro experimental free model if you pay $10. But even if you do that, because I have, you get rate limited very, very often. And you might send a request, but like you're not getting a response back, you have to retry. So it's not a great experience. So as far as I know, the only reliable way to get infinite access to Gemini 2.5 Pro is via the chat. And it's not super expensive if you pay for it, but suppose you don't even care about that, it might not be the right choice. Because I was using Gemini 2.5 Flash, most of the thinking model, because keep in mind that over here, we have 500 requests per day for free. Now, that's not too bad. And we can use the thinking model, which is pretty good for coding, but also we can work faster, and if you pay, I guess, cheaper, because it generates responses for you faster, and you don't have to wait for it to think. On the artificial analysis benchmark, I guess we have that 4th place, beating R1. And if you look at the speed, then the average speed of Gemini 2.5 Flash is 326 tokens per second. Now, that is a pretty big deal, especially if you're prompting a lot. This could mean that you are working or getting what you want done, like 2, but realistically 3 times faster than if you used even other relevant competitors. And there are some slow models out there. And with Gemini 2.5 Flash thinking offering you 500 free uses per day, even if you reach the cap, right? You reach the cap, that's still gonna be a decent day. Like, if you want to use it all up, it's hard to say how much time that would actually take. But as long as you're using it reasonably, it's probably gonna be at least half a dozen hours. Now, keep in mind that this is just not an odd obsession with trying to use a free AI, but this is actually a great choice. So it would be worth paying for it, but I guess if you have to pay like 3.5, then other options might be more relevant. And keep in mind that the lineup otherwise is kind of strange, because you can use Gemini 2.5 Pro and you can use Gemini 2.5 Flash as a backup. And not much else would really make sense. You sometimes see free models that can be just used as much as you like. But again, usage is not a huge concern. Now, I will not go over all the options out there that they offer some kind of AI and whatnot. We're just going to go over the most popular one, which I used to have, but I don't currently. And look at the options we have here. GPT-4o. You would not use that. O3 Mini. I guess that is okay, but I've used it and it wasn't that great. So it would beg the question, or perhaps I should say it otherwise. Are you always getting the O3 Mini high? Because I don't think so. And Claude 3.5 Sonnet also works with the clients. So you have an option inside client to use the VS Code subscription you have. And you can use the Claude 3.5 with it. But you cannot use the Claude 3.7 with it. Even though Anthropic is selling it for the same price. And Klein is so much better than GitHub Copilot. So just by being forced to use GitHub Copilot, this would be a terrible deal. But the selection itself is pretty garbage. Gemini 2.5 Flash, GPT 4.1, it's not great. And O1, but like you're not getting many uses with it. And these days, it's not even that impressive. Truly, Claude 3.7 would be the best choice here, but who cares? Might as well use just Gemini 2.5 thinking. And this is my beef with the AI code editors too, that even if you have a good deal right now, just wait a week, wait 2 weeks, and you might have a terrible deal, and you might just have to leave, or just take it. To me, this seems like that Microsoft is not even trying. Especially because I had this, and if you use Claude 3.7 eagerly, then you get rate limited. So after a few hours, it is unusable. And people online say like, oh yeah man, it's still a good deal. I have like 4 GitHub Copilot subscriptions, so I switch between my GitHub Copilot subscriptions so I can use Claude 3.7 all day. And that sounds like a massive headache to me. And Gemini 2.5 Flash, thinking, albeit is scoring really well. It's not necessarily scoring near the tippy top for coding, but it does not matter necessarily. What really matters is, I guess you want some intelligence and high enough intelligence, but you also want speed. So on one hand, you can just use the smartest model and wait for it to answer, because that tends to be a trend here, that the smartest model tends to take the longest. Of course, then we have smarter models, and older models become a little faster, and so on. But especially as the intelligence of the models keeps climbing, it might not matter that you're using a little dumber model. Or at the very least, you need to consider other variables aside from intelligence. So that is it. Flash and Pro actually combo well, but I can't really fault anyone for just spamming Pro. But it might be just a waste of time, and you could have done the same thing for free and faster with Flash, which is what I was mainly using lately, along with what seems good on Open Router. Because Plan B can always be just spam Gemini Pro. But Plan A might be better served by a more balanced model that is kind of faster, which is the main setting point. Because even on Open Router, we see that it has basically no latency and fast throughput, but it has a faster throughput on their AI Studio, while Gemini Pro has latency, and we can see that this model is heavily rate limited by Google. Unfortunate. And even Claude, we can see that it has some latency. It's not really that relevant, but also speed-wise, it's less than Flash. And DeepSeek is kind of similar to it. And these are actually the most popular models today. Yet I find it hard to justify using anything but Gemini 2.5 Flash, unless I'm stuck. Or maybe planning, but I guess you might be able to do it in the chat too. And that is a key point, because if you're not faced with a challenging problem solving and you already know what to do, then you don't need top intelligent. I know that thinking and lower throughput is only going to slow things down.